Hi, this is Lucia with The Art of Love. I'm a dating and relationship expert specializing in helping you get your ex back. And today I want to talk about what happens when you break no contact and you get your ex back, or you get back together with them. And I'm making this video because I had a realization recently when I was coaching one of my clients, because she did just that. Despite my best efforts to keep her in no contact, she kept breaking it, and they ended up getting together, and then something happened. And that's when I had the realization, and I'd like to share that with you. But before I do, I want to, of course, welcome back the No Contact Army, and have you downloaded my app Silencio to help you stay in no contact so that you won't break it. And if you haven't, the link is below every single video. We are working on the Android version. I know everyone is asking. And if you too would like to join the No Contact Army, all you have to do is hit the subscribe button and the bell notification, and you're in. And to read the No Contact Army manual, go to nocontactsecrets.com, where you can read 2 free chapters before purchasing the book. So I had previously done a video titled The Number One Reason You Must Stay in No Contact. And I'll put the link up above here, where I discuss this. And I'll read a short section from that video later on. But first I want to tell you this story of my client. So they had been on and off for 4 years. And whenever I hear on and off, that's not a good sign. It shouldn't be on and off. And there had been about 5 breakups in that time. And either he would then contact her to get back together or to start seeing each other, or she would contact him. And it was always her leaving and getting upset because he basically wanted a friends with benefits, and that wasn't enough for her. So she finally contacted me, but as I said, she wouldn't stay in no contact. And then I didn't hear from her for a while. She disappeared, so I knew something was up. You know, whenever a client disappears, it's like a child who normally makes noise when they're playing, and then all of a sudden they're quiet. It's like, all right, what are they up to? I better go check. And indeed, I'd heard from her on Valentine's Day, and she was upset because it was already evening and she had not heard from him, despite the fact that she had broken no contact a week earlier. They had gotten together, they had sex, and now she hadn't heard from him in 2 days. And so she asked if she should contact him. And I said, oh, hell no, do not contact him. That is the most low-value thing you can do on Valentine's Day, to contact him after you haven't heard from him, after sleeping with him a week ago. And they're an older couple, and so she said, well, you know, we don't have much time, and I just want him back. And that's when it hit me. It's like, even though you, quote unquote, get him back, or get him back into your life, I think that there's a differentiation there. Which version are you getting back? You want the original version. You want the version that had a high interest level. And by the way, if you want to know more about interest level, I highly recommend the book by my friend Doc Love. And that link is below every single video. Check it out. He's the one who came up with that concept of interest level. But when you contact your ex, you're showing them that you can't live without them. They kicked you out of their life, and you came crawling back, which means that you'll do anything to be with them, which makes you low value. So you're not getting the version you want. You're not getting the version that you had in the beginning when they were really into you, when they had a lot of interest in you. You're getting the modified version. And someone actually made a comment under one of my videos referring to the movie Pet Sematary. I hadn't seen that movie, so I checked into what the plot was, and it really does actually apply to breaking no contact, because basically the plot is that in this town there is a burial ground where if someone dies, or even a pet dies, if you bury them in that ground, they come back to life. The problem, there's always a problem, the problem is that they don't come back as they were. they come back as an evil version of themselves. And that perfectly explains what happens when you've been broken up with and you break no contact and you get them back. What exactly are you getting back? You're not getting back who you thought you were getting back. You're getting back maybe not an evil version, but definitely a diluted version, a modified version, a version that's less interested. And thus you end up like this woman, upset on Valentine's Day because you contacted them, you had sex with them, you were in contact for a few days, and then they disappear. And so he eventually contacted her 2 days later, and she said that she was upset that she hadn't heard from him. And he said, "Oh, I hate Valentine's Day." Oh, by the way, they're British, but that's my bad British accent. "I hate Valentine's Day. It reminds me of my divorce." Shut up. So being divorced didn't upset you so much that you couldn't have sex a week before, but it upset you to the point where you can't even contact this woman to say Happy Valentine's Day. That's just an excuse. So then we find out that actually his ex was still in the picture, and that explained everything. That explained the hot and cold behavior. You know, when someone is acting squirrely, and I don't know where that expression came from. I think it's kind of funny. People who don't understand what that means are probably thinking, what do you mean squirrely? Well, that's when someone stores nuts in their mouth. Just kidding. Just kidding. No, think of a squirrel. They're unpredictable. If you see them, you don't know if they're just going to freeze and stand there, or they're going to run into the street or run up a tree. You don't know what they're going to do. So by squirrely, it means that their behavior doesn't make sense. So I can tell you 90% of the time when someone is hot and cold and their behavior doesn't make sense, it's because there's either an ex in the picture or there's someone new. And the remaining 10%, it's because there's mental health issues. Maybe they have depression, anxiety, bipolar, whatever. And then maybe a small percentage of the time they're acting squirrely because they're planning a surprise party for you. But that rarely happens. So now I want to read a part of what the woman said in the video I mentioned earlier about the number one reason why you should stay in no contact, because she too could not stay in no contact. She had to find out the hard way what happens when you break it and get back with someone. And she said, "I had anxiety because it felt like we were no longer equals." You're not. "I was making all these changes and not starting arguments and being more accommodating, and he was just free to see me however he pleased. I think if I had waited for him to contact me after the breakup, he would have been more humble, and willing to see things from my side. Me calling him seemed to make him think it was an opportunity to make me do things his way." Well, that's what you're saying when you break no contact and get back with them. It's like, I can't live without you, and therefore I'm willing to do anything to be with you. He was not quite the same. Yeah, of course not. She got the Pet Sematary version. "I broke up with him because I couldn't shake my anxiety. He was not the guy I originally fell in love with." That's right. You got the low interest version. "Even though they miss you, the fact that you called first gives them the upper hand." Exactly. So my job, 90% of my job, whether with my clients or with you guys listening to these videos, is to convince you to stay in no contact no matter what, unless of course you cheated or you took your ex for granted, and to only respond if it's not a breadcrumb. So hopefully in listening to this, I've convinced you that you do not want the Pet Sematary version of your ex. No, you don't. You will not be happy. So I want to hear from you. Have you seen the Pet Sematary version of your ex? Did you contact them, or did you respond to a breadcrumb and then see a version that you weren't expecting? Let us know below. And in the meantime, if you would like my help to get your ex back, please go to theartoflove.net. The direct link is below, and we will send you the rates. If this video has been helpful, remember to like, subscribe, and share. If you're listening to a podcast, please rate and review. And finally, remember that love inspires, empowers, uplifts, and enlightens.